Richard the Lionheart, a legendary medieval warrior, forged in the fires of war. His name echoes through time, a symbol of courage and knighthood. But behind the myths, there's a man, a king who led not just by example, but by intellect. His next objective was Jaffa, a vital port city. A perilous march began, where every step brought new dangers. Shields were held high, ready to deflect the volleys of arrows that rained down upon them. He respected his adversary, recognizing the challenges posed by Richard's disciplined army. Fatigue gnawed at their resolve, and the allure of rest became irresistible. They longed for the stability of a camp, the security of a fortified position. But Richard was resolute. He knew his army's fighting strength would diminish with each passing moment of rest, and so he pressed on towards the south, keeping his troops on the move. The Muslims were drawn up in vast numbers, their array stretching across the open field near the edge of the wood. They had chosen this spot carefully, an area that provided both concealment and an advantageous position for an ambush. The Crusader army, smaller but battle-hardened, stood firm, ready to face whatever challenge lay ahead. Their tight formation was their defense, their discipline their strength. He needed a decisive advantage, a vulnerability to exploit. They fled back to the safety of the woods, leaving the field to the victors. Richard's army, though weary, had achieved a resounding victory. The Battle of Arsuf was over. Richard knew the battle with Saladin was far from over. Jaffa still stood defiant, and the road to Jerusalem was fraught with challenges. They pursued the retreating Muslim forces, striking them hard and preventing any regrouping. It was a calculated move, a demonstration of their dominance on the field. Richard, ever the pragmatist, knew that a decisive victory needed to be followed up. But Saladin, entrenched within the city walls, was prepared to defend. And if you liked it, make sure to leave a like for more episodes. Don't forget to subscribe so you never miss an upload. Thanks for watching. See you next time. Jaffa's fate hung in the balance, poised between the ambitions of Richard and the steadfastness of Saladin. To achieve their objective, they needed to project strength, to demoralize their enemy, and to inspire confidence in their own ranks. The joy of victory was tempered by the knowledge that greater trials lay ahead. The Muslim forces, with their massive numbers, attacked relentlessly, wave after wave. Richard the Lionheart's name was sung by bards, his deeds immortalized in epic poems. His military genius was discussed in hushed tones, his bravery in battle a thing of legend. The victory at Arsuf was a turning point in the Third Crusade. It opened the path to Jaffa, bringing Richard's forces closer to their objective. He retreated strategically, regrouping his forces and planning his next move. He may have lost the battle, but the war was far from over. His respect for Richard only grew after the battle. He recognized in Richard a worthy adversary, a soldier who matched him blow for blow, a leader who had outmaneuvered him. It was a triumph of strategy, discipline, and sheer willpower. Time was of essence. He wanted to capture Jaffa quickly and move on to Jerusalem before winter set in. Winter in the Holy Land could stall any military campaign, providing a much-needed respite to the defenders. Richard was aware of this, and so he planned his siege accordingly. But as the sun climbed higher, the Crusader ranks began to falter. Fatigue was a heavy burden, the incessant attacks draining their strength. Still, they held on, their shields forming a bulwark against the onslaught. The tide of the battle seemed to turn. The Muslim forces, sensing weakness, redoubled their efforts, pressing their attack with renewed vigor. The Crusaders held their ground, repelling each assault with valor. In the thick of the battle, Richard fought like a lion, his sword flashing, his shield firm. Every thrust, every parry was a display of martial skill, a testament to years of training. His presence inspired his men, bolstering their resolve amidst the chaos. But how could he break the Crusader ranks? Saladin devised a plan, but it demanded patience. He would continually harass the Crusaders, forcing them to expend their energy. It was a psychological tactic, a test of endurance. Their sudden aggressive move caught the Muslims off guard, breaking the rhythm of the attacks. This small victory was a turning point. The Crusaders, rejuvenated by their earlier stand, fought with the strength of men possessed. They drove the Muslims back, their cheers echoing across the battlefield. It gave Richard the opening he needed to launch his counterattack. With a roar, he and his knights surged forward, their momentum carrying them like a battering ram. There was a sense of iron discipline among them, a stark display of military efficiency that belied the exhaustion they must have felt. But Richard's strategic brilliance was evident. Instead of the traditional inland route, he chose the coastal route. Yet they pressed on, driven by their leader's unwavering determination. The battle for Jaffa was imminent. Richard, ever the strategist, prepared his troops. They were veterans now, tempered by battles and losses. Every scar was a reminder of their journey, every loss a source of motivation. Each step was a testament to their endurance, a silent vow to honor their king and their cause. Though unfamiliar and fraught with perils, this choice was crucial. Ships would move parallel to the army, ensuring continuous supplies. This strategy, though unusual, guaranteed fresh water and provisions, vital for sustaining his forces. Join me as we unravel the stories of his triumphs and struggles, his victories and defeats, exploring what made him not just a great warrior, but a remarkable leader. He had tracked Richard's movements, observing his strategies, waiting for the perfect moment to strike. With the Crusader army nearing the woods of Arsuf, Saladin knew he had his chance, because history's greatest battles are won not just on the battlefield, but in the mind of the commander. Welcome to Echoes of Empire, where we bring you the most epic stories from human history. Richard the Lionheart and his Crusader army were left in control of the city, having suffered heavy losses themselves, making it clear they couldn't afford another defeat. Their next target was the strategically vital port city of Jaffa, and before they could lay siege to the city, Richard first had to deal with Saladin, the formidable Muslim leader who commanded the surrounding regions. After the sack of Acre, Richard had no time to rest. The Crusader army set out south from Acre along the Mediterranean coast, moving along the beach. As they marched, the Muslim-led cavalry harassed their flanks. These hit-and-run tactics were designed to tire the Crusader forces. Saladin aimed to break their morale without committing his main force to battle, hoping to force Richard into a premature engagement. The seas were rough that day, but the ships managed to hold course, supplying the army with water and food. It was a well-coordinated effort, a testament to the planning that had gone into this risky maneuver. The Crusaders, however, had endured much during their campaign, and their resolve was strong. Despite constant harassment, Richard's army maintained its tight formation. Meanwhile, Saladin observed from afar, his brow furrowed in concentration, and as the days passed, the Crusader soldiers started to feel the strain. The coastal march was arduous. The Crusaders trudged through knee-deep water, battling the elements and fatigue. As the Crusader army moved closer to Jaffa, the prospect of a decisive engagement loomed. When the news reached Saladin that the Crusaders were approaching Arsuf, about 25 miles north of Jaffa, he realized it was time for action. At dawn on September 7, 1191, Saladin's forces took their positions. That day, the Battle of Arsuf unfolded in all its fury. Hours passed, the battle raging without respite. Both sides fought with unwavering determination. But it was at this critical moment that a contingent of Hospitaller knights charged forward. The Crusader counterattack was fierce, a whirlwind of steel and determination. It took the Muslim forces by surprise, shattering their defenses. With their lines broken, the Muslim forces retreated in disarray. News of the Crusader victory spread like wildfire. Yet amidst the celebrations, there was an undercurrent of somber awareness. The aftermath of the battle saw Richard's forces move swiftly to consolidate their advantage. Saladin, despite his military defeat, remained a formidable presence. As Richard approached Jaffa, the city heavily defended by Saladin's forces, he knew a siege would be costly. Jaffa, with its strategic importance, represented the last major obstacle between Richard and Jerusalem. We hope you enjoyed this episode with us.